The conference room on Horizon 7 had never been designed for this kind of meeting. Governor Jae-hoon sat at the head of the table, flanked by Commander Tae-won and the other senior staff. Across from them sat Admiral Sung-min, Captain Min-ho, and several other Earth officers. The atmosphere was strange, filled with emotions that no one quite knew how to express. Colonel Bo-ra stood by the door, her Marines stationed throughout the station. She was responsible for security, but there was no threat here. The Vexillans were defeated. The station was safe. Still, she remained vigilant. That was her job. I think we all have questions, Jae-hoon said carefully. We're grateful for your help, Admiral. More grateful than words can express. But I think I speak for everyone when I ask why. Why now? Where has Earth been for the last 30 years? Admiral Sung-min had known this question was coming. He had prepared for it. But preparation didn't make it easier to answer. 30 years ago, Earth made mistakes, Sung-min began. Our government became focused on internal problems, economic troubles, political divisions. We turned inward when we should have looked outward. The colonies felt abandoned because they were abandoned. That was wrong. Young-ho couldn't stay quiet. The bitterness he had carried for years spilled out. Wrong? My parents died in a pirate raid 15 years ago. A raid that wouldn't have happened if Earth had maintained its patrols. Dozens of outer colonies have been attacked, raided, or destroyed. Thousands of people have died. And you say it was wrong? Yes, Sung-min said simply. He met Young-ho's angry gaze without flinching. It was wrong. It was a failure of leadership and duty. I cannot give you back those 15 years. I cannot bring back your parents. But I can tell you what Earth did after we realized our mistake. He gestured to Captain Min-ho, who activated a holographic display. Images appeared above the table showing massive shipyards, training facilities, and research centers. 25 years ago, Earth's leadership changed, Min-ho explained. The new government understood that isolation was not safety. It was cowardice. They began the reunification initiative. The goal was simple: rebuild Earth's military from nothing into a force that could protect every human colony in the galaxy. It took 5 years just to design the new ship classes. Sung-min continued. Another 5 years to build the first prototypes. 10 years to train crews to proper standards. 5 more years to build the full fleet. 25 years of constant work. Constant sacrifice. Constant preparation. Dr. Jiwoo leaned forward, studying the images. This must have cost enormous amounts of money. How did you pay for it? Earth's entire economy was reorganized, Min-ho said. Defense became the primary concern. Taxes were raised. Luxury spending was cut. Every resource was directed toward building a military that could defend humanity. It wasn't popular. Many people protested, but the government held firm. Hana spoke up timidly. But why keep it secret? Why not tell us you were coming? Because we needed to be ready, Sung-min said. If we had announced our plans, every aggressive power in the galaxy would have known. They would have struck before we were prepared. We needed the element of surprise. We needed everyone to think Earth was weak and isolated. That was the only way to build the force we needed. Ambassador Kyung-soo, who had been silent until now, spoke in a measured tone. The Vexillan Dominion has been expanding aggressively for a decade. Our intelligence tracked their movements. We knew they would reach human space eventually. We also knew that when they did, we needed to respond with overwhelming force. Not just to defeat them, but to send a message to every other predatory empire in the galaxy. What message? Tae-won asked quietly. That humanity is not prey, Kyung-soo said firmly. That we stand together. That anyone who threatens human lives will face consequences they cannot imagine. Young-ho stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You're telling me that Earth let colonies suffer for 25 years? Let people die, just so you could build your fleet in secret? Yes, Sung-min said. The single word hung in the air like a confession. That is exactly what I'm telling you. It was a calculated decision made by people who thought they knew best. It was strategic. It was ruthless. And it was wrong. The room fell silent. Sung-min stood up, facing Young-ho directly. You have every right to be angry, the Admiral said. Every right to hate us. We failed you. We failed your parents. We failed thousands of people who died while we prepared. I will not defend those decisions. I will not make excuses. I can only tell you that we are here now and we will never leave you alone again. Young-Ho's anger seemed to drain away, replaced by something more complicated: pain, grief, and perhaps reluctant understanding. My parents believed Earth would come, Young-Ho said quietly. Even after the pirates killed them, their last messages talked about waiting for Earth to return. They died believing in something that took too long to arrive. I know, Sung-min said, and I am sorry. Sorrier than you will ever know. Taewon broke the heavy silence. Admiral, you said you've been hunting Vexilin advance forces for months. What did you mean? Minyo brought up new images on the display. Star charts showing dozens of systems. The Third Fleet has been operating in the outer reaches for 4 months. We've engaged Vexilin scout groups in 7 different systems. Small battles, quick strikes. We've been pushing them back, protecting colonies they tried to raid. We didn't hear about any of this, Hana said in surprise. You weren't supposed to, Minho replied. We operated in stealth mode. The Vexilins knew someone was hitting them, but they didn't know it was Earth. We wanted them confused, uncertain. When they moved on Horizon 7, they thought they were hitting an undefended colony. Instead, they walked into a trap. Dr. Jiwoo understood. You used us as bait. No, Sung-min said firmly. We would have come regardless. But yes, we allowed the Vexilins to believe Horizon 7 was vulnerable. We wanted them to commit a large force. We wanted to destroy their capability to threaten human space. And we wanted witnesses. Witnesses to what? Jae-hoon asked. To Earth's return, Kyung-soo said. This battle wasn't just about saving Horizon 7, though that was crucial. It was about announcing to the galaxy that Earth is back, that humans are united, that we have the strength to defend ourselves. Taewon nodded slowly, understanding. How many fleets does Earth have? 13, Sung-min said. 4,000 warships in total, deployed across human space. Each fleet is tasked with protecting specific regions. The Third Fleet is responsible for the outer reaches. We have 6 dreadnoughts, 50 cruisers, and over 200 support vessels. Young-Ho sat back down, overwhelmed by the numbers. 4,000 ships. In 25 years, you built 4,000 warships. Earth has a population of 12 billion, Minho said. The colony worlds have another 8 billion. That's 20 billion humans. We built this fleet for all of them. For you. Hana was crying again, but this time from relief rather than fear. So we're really safe now? The Vexilins won't come back? The Vexilins will think very carefully before threatening humans again, Kyung-soo said. And if they do come back, they will face not just the Third Fleet, but all 13 fleets. We will crush them so completely that the memory of their defeat will last for generations. Colonel Bora spoke for the first time. What about the other alien powers? Won't they see Earth as a threat now? Some will, Sung-min admitted. Some will fear us. Some will respect us. Some will want to test us. But all of them will understand one thing. Humanity is no longer weak. We are no longer divided. Attack one human colony and you attack all of Earth. Governor Jae-hoon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth ships filled the space around Horizon 7 like protective guardians. What happens now? He asked. To us? To the station? We rebuild, Sung-min said. Earth engineers are already assessing damage. We'll repair everything the Vexilins damaged. We'll upgrade your defenses. We'll establish a permanent garrison here. Horizon 7 will never be alone again. And what about Earth? Taewon asked. What about the relationship between the homeworld and the colonies? That's being discussed at the highest levels, Kyung-soo said. The reunification initiative isn't just military. It's political too. Earth wants to rebuild the bonds that were broken, create a true federation of human worlds. Equal partnership, not colonial domination. Young-Ho looked at Admiral Sung-min for a long moment. Finally he spoke. I was wrong about Earth. I thought you didn't care. I thought you had forgotten us. I was angry and bitter. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, Sung-min said gently. Your anger was justified. We earned it. All we can do now is prove that we've changed. Prove that we're worthy of your trust again. The meeting continued for hours. Details were discussed. Plans were made. But the important part was over. Earth and the colonies were talking again. The wounds were not healed, but the healing had begun. Outside, the station was transforming. Earth's crews worked alongside colonists. Medical teams from both sides shared equipment and knowledge. Children played with Marines who told them stories of Earth. The division that had lasted 30 years was starting to close. The detention facility on the Indomitable was not like the prison cells most people imagined. It was clean, well-lit, and comfortable. The Vexillan prisoners had been given medical care, food, and even access to entertainment. They were prisoners, yes, but they were treated with dignity. Minister Dal sat in his cell staring at the walls. He was one of the highest-ranking Vexillans captured in the battle, a member of the Dominion's ruling council. He had advised Warlord Thex to attack the human colony. He had been certain it would be an easy victory. He had been catastrophically wrong. Captain Su-Jin entered the cell carrying a data pad. She was Earth's chief intelligence officer, responsible for gathering information from the prisoners. She had been interrogating Vexillans for 2 days now, and the picture that emerged was troubling. Minister Dal, Su-Jin said politely, sitting across from him. How are you feeling? Is the medical care adequate? Dal looked at her with his black, glassy eyes. Why do you care? We tried to kill your people. We would have destroyed your colony, yet you treat us like guests. Because that's who we are, Su-Jin said simply. We're not barbarians. Even our enemies deserve basic dignity. Now I have questions. I hope you'll answer them honestly. Dal laughed bitterly. You have already won. What more do you want? Understanding, Su-Jin said. I want to understand why the Vexillan Dominion thought attacking humans was a good idea. Your intelligence must have told you something about us. Our intelligence said you were weak, Dal admitted. Divided, isolationist. Your colonies were scattered and poorly defended. You had not shown military strength in 3 decades. You seemed like easy prey. Scientist Sangwoo, who specialized in understanding alien cultures, sat beside Su-Jin. He had been studying Vexillan psychology for years. But you must have known that humans existed, that Earth existed. Didn't you wonder why we had withdrawn from galactic affairs? We assumed you were dying, Dal said. Many species become isolationist before they collapse. We thought humanity was fading. We wanted to claim your colonies before other powers did. Su-Jin exchanged glances with Sangwoo. This was worse than they had thought. The Vexillans had not attacked out of malice or hatred. They had attacked because they thought humans were finished, weak, defeated. Show him, Sangwoo said quietly. He needs to see. Su-Jin activated the datapad. Holographic images appeared in the air above the table. Detailed scans of Earth's 13 fleets, over 4,000 warships, bases on dozens of worlds, training facilities, research centers, the full might of humanity's military. Dal stared at the images in silence. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his eyes widened slightly. This is real? All of this exists? Every ship you see is operational and crewed, Su-Jin said. The 3rd fleet that destroyed your forces at Horizon 7 is one of our smallest fleets. We have fleets 3 times that size protecting our core worlds. Impossible, Dal whispered. No species could build this much in 30 years. Humanity has 20 billion people, Sangwoo explained. When we focus on something, we accomplish it. For 25 years, we focused on building a military that could protect our colonies. This is the result. Dal slumped in his chair. Then we are doomed. The Dominion cannot stand against this kind of power. That depends on your leadership's decisions, Su-Jin said. We don't want war with the Vexillan Dominion. We want peace. But if you continue to threaten human colonies, we will respond with overwhelming force. Do you understand? I understand, Dal said quietly. But will my leaders understand? The Dominion has conquered dozens of species. We have never backed down. Our pride will not allow it. Then your pride will destroy you, Sangwoo said bluntly. We have analyzed your military capabilities. Your technology is outdated. Your tactics are predictable. Your ships are inferior. If the Vexillan Dominion goes to war with Earth, the Dominion will cease to exist. Is your pride worth extinction? Dal had no answer to that. Admiral Sung Min made a decision that would shape galactic politics for decades. He called a conference with Earth's High Command, broadcast across hyperspace to all 13 fleets. The holographic display showed 12 other admirals, generals, and political leaders, the combined leadership of Earth's military. We need to send a message, Sung Min said, not just to the Vexillans, but to every power in the galaxy. We need to make it clear what will happen if anyone threatens human lives. What do you propose? One of the other admirals asked. We show them everything, Sung Min said. We reveal the full strength of Earth's military. We let them see what we've built. We give them the choice, peace or destruction. That violates decades of operational security, a general objected. Revealing our strength eliminates our advantage. Our advantage is not secrecy, Sung-min countered. Our advantage is the fact that we exist. The galaxy needs to know that humanity is united and powerful. That knowledge will prevent wars, not cause them. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Earth's leadership agreed. They would reveal their strength. They would send a message that could not be misunderstood. Minister Dal was brought to the Indomitable's main conference room. Other high-ranking Vexillan prisoners were brought as well. They stood in the center of the room, surrounded by holographic displays. Then Admiral Sung-min activated the projectors. The Vexillans watched in growing horror as Earth's full military might was revealed. They saw the 13 fleets. They saw the dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying entire planetary defenses. They saw the marine divisions, the fighter wings, the logistics networks that could sustain wars for years. They saw training footage of Earth soldiers performing feats of coordination and skill that seemed impossible. This is what humanity has become, Sung-min said, his voice echoing through the room. This is what we built while the galaxy thought we were weak. Every ship you see is real. Every soldier is trained. Every weapon is functional. This is not a bluff. This is not a threat. This is a fact. Minister Dal felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Pure, primal fear. The Vexillan Dominion was powerful, but it was nothing compared to this. Nothing. We are releasing you, Sung-min continued. You will be given ships. You will be given supplies. You will return to the Dominion and deliver a message to your leaders. Tell them that Earth offers peace. Tell them that we want no conflict. But tell them also that if they threaten human lives again, we will not show mercy a second time. We will bring our full strength against the Dominion, and we will not stop until the threat is eliminated. The Dominion spans 200 systems, Dal said weakly. We have millions of soldiers, thousands of ships, and we have 20 billion humans who will fight to protect their families, Sung-min replied. We have technology you cannot match. We have resources you cannot imagine. We have the will to see this through to the end. Can you say the same? Dal could not. Over the next week, the captured Vexillans were prepared for release. Their damaged ships were repaired just enough to reach Vexillan space. They were given medical supplies, food, and even gifts for their families. Earth's message was clear. We can be merciful, but we can also be terrible. Choose wisely. On Horizon 7, life was returning to normal. The station had been repaired. New defensive systems had been installed. A permanent garrison of Earth Marines had taken up residence. The colonists no longer feared attack. They had protectors now. Commander Tae-wan stood in the observation deck wearing a new uniform. He had accepted Admiral Sung-min's offer to rejoin Earth's Navy. At 62 years old, he was starting over. But it felt right. Earth needed people who understood both the colonies and the military. He could bridge that gap. Dr. Ji-woo continued her work in the medical bay, but now she had access to cutting-edge Earth technology. She was saving lives she could not have saved before. The future of medicine in the colonies looked brighter than ever. Young-ho had been offered a position on an Earth engineering team. They wanted his expertise in adapting colonial technology. They valued his knowledge. They respected his experience. He had accepted, still processing the fact that Earth actually cared about people like him. Hana watched the Earth ships preparing to depart. The Third Fleet's mission was not finished. There were other colonies to protect, other threats to face, but they had left behind a garrison and a promise. Horizon 7 would never be alone again. Governor Jae-hoon gave a speech to the entire station. It was broadcast across the colony networks, reaching other outposts and settlements. 30 years ago, we thought Earth had abandoned us, Jae-hoon said. We were wrong. Earth was preparing, building, training. They were getting ready to protect us properly. Today, that protection arrived. Earth's fleet came when we needed them most. They fought for us. They saved us. And they've promised to never leave us alone again. I believe them, Jae-hoon continued. Not because of their ships or their weapons, but because of who they are. Earth sent their best, their bravest. They sent people who care about human lives, regardless of where those lives are lived. The division between Earth and the colonies is over. We are one people again. We are humanity united, the colonists cheered. Children waved flags showing Earth's symbol alongside the colony's emblem. Marines stood at attention, honored to protect these people. A wound that had festered for 30 years was finally beginning to heal. Wing Commander Hyunwoo sat in the cockpit of his fighter, watching the battle unfold through his displays. He had flown combat missions before, but never against an enemy this overmatched. The Vexillans were putting up a fight, but it was like watching children throw rocks at a tank. "All wings, this is command." Lieutenant Yuna's voice came through his helmet. "Launch when ready. Your targets are the damaged Vexillan cruisers. Disable their remaining weapon systems. Keep civilian casualties to 0. "Understood, Command," Hyunwoo replied. He switched to his squadron channel. "You heard the lady. Let's make this clean. Follow my lead." Behind him, 50 fighters launched from the Indomitable's hangar bays. Across the fleet, hundreds more fighters poured into space like angry insects. But these weren't the old, clumsy fighters from 30 years ago. These were cutting-edge craft with advanced engines, smart weapons, and AI co-pilots. Ensign Dae-jung flew his fighter for the first time in actual combat. His hands were slick with sweat inside his gloves. His heart hammered in his chest. He had trained for years for this moment, but training and reality were very different things. "Stay close to me, Dae-jung," Hyunwoo said calmly. "Watch your spacing. Don't get tunnel vision. And breathe. Remember to breathe." "Yes, sir," Dae-jung managed to say. His voice sounded small and scared in his own ears. They dove toward a crippled Vexillan cruiser. The massive ship was already listing to one side, bleeding atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. But its point defense guns were still active, still dangerous. "Yoonji, you're up," Hyunwoo said. On the Indomitable, Specialist Yoonji sat in the Electronic Warfare Center. Her screen showed the battlefield in layers of data that only she could read. She was responsible for jamming enemy communications, disrupting their targeting systems, and generally making the Vexillans' lives miserable. "I've got them," Yoonji said, her fingers dancing across the controls, jamming their fire control. "They're blind now." The Vexillan cruiser's guns swiveled wildly, trying to track targets they could no longer see. Hyunwoo's squadron swept past the ship like ghosts, firing precision shots into the weapon emplacements. One by one, the guns went dark. "Good shooting," Hyunwoo said. "Dae-jung, you're with me on the next pass. See that shield generator on the port side? Put 2 missiles into it." Dae-jung swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." They came around for another attack run. This time, Dae-jung was ready. He locked his targeting computer onto the shield generator and fired. 2 missiles streaked away from his fighter and slammed into the Vexillan ship. The generator exploded in a shower of sparks. "Direct hit," Hyunwoo said proudly. "Well done, kid, see? You're a natural." Dae-jung felt a surge of pride mixed with relief. He had done it. He had hit his target in his first real combat. Maybe he could actually survive this. All across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Earth's fighters danced through the Vexillan fleet with impossible grace. Their pilots had been trained to standards that the Vexillans couldn't match. Their ships could turn tighter, fly faster, and hit harder than anything the Dominion had ever seen. On Horizon 7, the colonists watched in awe. Dr. Ji-woo stood in the medical bay, her screen showing the battle in real time. She noticed something that made her frown thoughtfully. "They're not trying to kill them," she said aloud. Young-ho, who had come down to help with triage preparations, looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean?" "It's a battle." "Look at the targeting patterns," Ji-woo said, pointing at her screen. "Earth's ships are going for weapons and engines. They're disabling the Vexillan fleet, not destroying it. They could wipe them out in minutes if they wanted to. But they're not." Young-ho watched the display more carefully. She was right. The Earth fleet was fighting with restraint. They were taking the harder shots, the more precise attacks, specifically to avoid killing their enemies when possible. "Why would they do that?" Young-ho asked. "The Vexillans were going to kill us all." "I don't know," Ji-woo admitted. "But it says something about who they are now. About who Earth has become." On the Vexillan flagship, Warlord Thex realized his fleet was finished. Of his 81 ships, 15 had been completely destroyed when their reactors overloaded. 40 more were crippled and dead in space. The remaining 26 were trying desperately to flee, but the Earth fleet had them surrounded. "This is impossible," Thex muttered, staring at his tactical display. "How did humans become this powerful? Our intelligence said they were weak, divided, isolationist." His second officer spoke quietly. "Perhaps our intelligence was wrong, Warlord. Perhaps it was always wrong." Thex slammed his fist against the console. Pride had brought him here. Pride had convinced him that humans were easy prey. Now his fleet was destroyed, thousands of his soldiers were dead, and his reputation was in ruins. Send a transmission, Thex said bitterly. To the Earth fleet. We surrender. On the Indomitable, Admiral Sungmin received the surrender with no satisfaction. He had destroyed a fleet, yes, but he had also taken thousands of lives. Those deaths would weigh on him for the rest of his life. Accept their surrender, Sungmin ordered. Captain Minho, deploy rescue teams to the disabled Vexulan vessels. Recover any survivors. Treat them with dignity and respect. Minho looked surprised. Admiral, we're going to rescue them? After they tried to kill the colonists? We're going to rescue them because that's what humans do, Sungmin said firmly. We're not conquerors. We're protectors. There's a difference. The Vexulans need to learn that difference. Lieutenant Yuna coordinated the rescue operations with the same efficiency she had used to coordinate the battle. Medical ships moved toward the crippled Vexulan vessels. Marine teams prepared to board and secure the ships. Engineers gathered tools to stabilize damaged reactors. Wing Commander Hyunwoo brought his squadron back to the Indomitable. As he climbed out of his fighter, he felt exhausted. The battle had lasted only 37 minutes, but it felt like hours. Ensign Dae-jung stumbled out of his own fighter on shaking legs. He had survived his first combat. He had done his duty, but he had also watched ships explode, watched people die. The reality of war was nothing like the training simulations. You did well, Hyunwoo said, putting a hand on the young pilot's shoulder. Get some rest. We'll debrief later. On Horizon 7, Commander Tae-won stood in the observation deck and watched the aftermath of the battle. The space around the station was filled with debris, broken ships, scattered wreckage, and in the middle of it all, Earth's fleet held position like vigilant guardians. It's over, Hana said softly. We're safe. For now, Tae-won replied. But he was thinking about something else. About the fact that Earth had come with overwhelming force. About the fact that they had fought with precision and restraint. About the fact that they were now rescuing their defeated enemies. Earth had changed. In 30 years of silence, they had transformed from a weak, divided power into something formidable. But they hadn't just built weapons. They had built a military with honor. With principles. With mercy. Young-ho joined them at the window. I was wrong, he said quietly. I said Earth abandoned us. That they didn't care. I was wrong. We were all wrong, Tae-won said. Earth never forgot us. They were just preparing, making sure that when they came back, they could protect us properly. Below them, the first Earth ships were docking with Horizon 7. Marines in clean uniforms were coming aboard. Medical personnel with advanced equipment were setting up aid stations. Engineers were already assessing damage and making repair plans. Governor Jae-hoon met Admiral Sung-min at the main airlock. The two men stood facing each other for a long moment. Then Jae-hoon did something unexpected. He saluted. It was a civilian salute, clumsy and unpracticed, but heartfelt. Thank you, Jae-hoon said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for coming. Admiral Sung-min returned the salute properly. We should have come sooner, he said. We should never have left you alone for so long. But we're here now, and we're not leaving again. Throughout the station, colonists were gathering to see the Earth soldiers. Children stared in wonder at the Marines' armor. Adults asked questions about the fleet. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Why now? Why had Earth finally come back? The answer to that question would change everything. The Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace like ancient gods descending from heaven. 300 warships, each one gleaming with fresh armor and bristling with weapons. At the center of the formation flew 5 massive dreadnoughts, each one larger than 10 Vexulan cruisers combined. On the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Sung-min watched the tactical display with calm eyes. He was 58 years old, and he had spent the last 20 years preparing for this exact moment. Earth's return to the stars would not be quiet or gentle. It would be overwhelming. Status report, he said calmly. Captain Minho stood beside the Admiral's chair, reviewing the incoming data. All ships reporting ready status. Vexulan fleet detected at coordinates 7-3 Alpha. 81 vessels. They're moving into defensive formation. And the station? Horizon 7 is still there. Life signs show approximately 50,000 colonists. They're in the middle of evacuation procedures. Minho paused. Admiral, they're terrified. Sung-min nodded slowly. Of course they were terrified. The colonists had been abandoned by Earth for 3 decades. They had no reason to believe anyone would help them. But that was about to change. Open a channel, Sung-min ordered. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. The station, the Vexillans, everyone. Lieutenant Una worked at the communications console. She was young but brilliant, one of the finest tactical officers in the fleet. Channel open, Admiral. You're broadcasting. Sungmin took a deep breath. When he spoke, his voice was clear and firm. This is Admiral Sungmin of the Earth Defense Fleet, 3rd Expeditionary Force. To the colonists of Horizon 7, your distress call has been received. We are here. You are not alone. You have never been alone. He paused, letting those words sink in. To the Vexillan fleet, you are in violation of human space. You have threatened human lives. Leave immediately or face the consequences. Earth protects its own. On Horizon 7, the entire station heard those words. In the command center, Commander Taewon felt tears running down his face. Beside him, Hana was crying openly. Even Young-ho, bitter and angry Young-ho, had his hand pressed against his mouth in shock. They came, Governor Jae-hoon kept repeating. They actually came. The Vexillan response came quickly. Warlord Thex appeared on the communication screen. He looked different now. Less confident. His black eyes flickered with something that might have been fear. Earth vessels, Thex said slowly. This is an internal matter of the Vexillan Dominion. This system is now Dominion territory. We have claimed it according to Galactic law. Galactic law does not recognize claims on inhabited systems. Admiral Sungmin replied coldly, especially systems inhabited by human beings. You have 1 hour to leave. If you are still here after that time, we will remove you by force. You cannot threaten the Dominion, Thex said, but his voice lacked conviction. We have 80 vessels. We are not afraid of you. Lieutenant Una looked up at Admiral Sungmin and raised an eyebrow. The Admiral nodded slightly. Warlord Thex, Una said, her voice professional and cold. Our sensors indicate you have 81 vessels. We have 300. Our dreadnoughts alone outmass your entire fleet. Our technology is generations ahead of yours. We are giving you the opportunity to leave with your lives. I suggest you take it. Captain Minho pulled up the tactical analysis. Admiral, their ships are old designs, maybe 20 years behind our current technology. Their shields are weak. Their weapons are short range. If they engage us, this won't be a battle. It will be an execution. Then let's hope they're smart enough to avoid it, Sungmin said. But he knew they wouldn't leave. Pride was a powerful thing. The Vexillans had built their empire on conquest and intimidation. They couldn't afford to back down from what they thought were soft, weak humans. On Horizon 7, the evacuation had stopped. Everyone was watching the screens now, watching the two fleets face each other in the darkness of space. Parents held their children. Workers abandoned their posts. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. Young-ho stared at the Earth fleet with something like awe. Look at those ships, he whispered. They're beautiful. The armor plating, the energy signatures, the formation patterns. Taewon, those ships are works of art. Taewon nodded. He had served in Earth's Navy when the ships were old and outdated. These new vessels were something else entirely. Someone had spent decades and unimaginable resources building this fleet. Earth hadn't been idle. They had been preparing. Why did they wait so long? Hana asked quietly. If they had this kind of power, why didn't they come back sooner? I don't know, Taewon admitted. But they're here now. That's what matters. The hour passed slowly. The Vexillan fleet held its position. On the Indomitable, Admiral Sungmin watched the countdown timer reach 0. He had hoped they would leave. He had given them every chance. But the Vexillans had made their choice. Admiral, Captain Minho said quietly, the Vexillan flagship is powering up weapons. Multiple vessels are following suit. They're going to fight, Lieutenant Una said, disbelief in her voice. They're actually going to fight us. Sungmin felt a wave of sadness wash over him. This didn't have to happen. Those Vexillan ships held thousands of lives, soldiers following orders, crews who trusted their leaders. They were about to die because their warlord was too proud to retreat. Sound general quarters, Sungmin ordered. All ships to combat status. Weapons free. Rules of engagement are defensive. Do not fire until they fire first. But once they do, he paused. Show them what Earth has become. Alarms rang throughout the Third Fleet. 300 warships came alive with power. Gun ports opened. Missile tubes armed. Shield generators reached full capacity. The fleet moved into an attack formation that was both beautiful and terrifying. On the Vexillan flagship, Warlord Thex made his final decision. He had built his reputation on conquest. He had never retreated from a battle. He refused to believe these humans, these soft colonists, could stand against the might of the Dominion. All vessels, Thex ordered. Fire at will. Destroy them. The Vexillan fleet opened fire. 81 ships released everything they had. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the Earth fleet. It was an impressive display of firepower. It was also completely useless. Earth's shields absorbed the attack with barely a flicker. Advanced defensive systems intercepted the missiles before they could reach their targets. Not a single Earth ship took damage. Admiral Sung Min watched the tactical display with sad eyes. Return fire, he ordered quietly. Target their weapons and engines. Disable them if possible. I want prisoners, not corpses. What happened next would be talked about for generations. The Earth fleet unleashed a barrage of weapons that the Vexillans had never seen before. Railguns firing projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Plasma lances that could cut through armor like paper. Missiles with AI guidance systems that couldn't be fooled or jammed. Lieutenant Yuna coordinated the attack with cold precision. Focus fire on grid sections Alpha through Delta. Target propulsion systems first, then weapons arrays. I want clean disabling shots, not kill strikes. The Vexillan fleet began to die, not quickly and mercifully, but slowly and methodically. Earth ships carved through their defenses with surgical precision. Vexillan shields collapsed. Engines exploded. Weapon systems went dark. Ships that had terrorized dozens of worlds found themselves helpless against humanity's might. Warlord Thex watched his fleet fall apart around him. In the space of 10 minutes, half his vessels were crippled or destroyed. The humans weren't even trying to kill them. They were toying with them, disabling them like a teacher correcting a misbehaving child. Retreat, Thex screamed into the communication system. All vessels retreat. Emergency hyperspace jump. But it was too late. The Earth fleet had jammed their hyperspace systems. The Vexillans were trapped. On Horizon 7, 50,000 colonists watched in stunned silence as Earth's fleet dismantled the Vexillan forces. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. A message to anyone watching. Earth had returned, and Earth was not weak. Commander Taewon stood in the observation deck of Horizon 7, staring at the massive warships that had just appeared outside the station. His hands trembled slightly as he gripped the railing. For 15 years he had lived peacefully on this remote station, far from any conflict. Those days were over now. The Vexillan fleet filled the view screen with their dark angular ships. There were at least 80 vessels out there, each one larger and more powerful than anything the station possessed. Taewon had been a naval officer once, back when Earth still cared about protecting its colonies. He knew what those ships could do. He knew what was coming. They're hailing us, Hana said from the communications console. Her voice was steady, but Taewon could see the fear in her young eyes. She was only 23, fresh out of training. This was supposed to be a quiet posting. Put them through, Taewon ordered. The screen changed to show a Vexillan warlord. His skin was gray and scaled, his eyes like black glass. When he spoke, his voice came through the translators as cold and mechanical. Human station. I am Warlord Thex of the Vexillan Dominion. You are now in territory claimed by the Dominion. You have 48 hours to evacuate this station. After that time, we will take control. Any resistance will be met with destruction. The communication ended before Taewon could respond. He stood there feeling the weight of 50,000 lives pressing down on his shoulders. 50,000 colonists, families, children, all depending on him to save them. Get me the council, he said quietly. Emergency meeting, now. 20 minutes later, Taewon sat in the council chamber with the other senior staff. Governor Jae-hoon looked pale and sick. Dr. Ji-woo, the station's chief medical officer, sat calmly with her hands folded. Young-ho, the head engineer, was already shaking his head. We can't fight them, Young-ho said before anyone else could speak. We have 12 defense drones, 12, they have 80 warships. This isn't even a battle. It's suicide. We have to try, someone else argued. We can't just give up our home. Our home? Young-ho laughed bitterly. Earth gave up on us 30 years ago. Where were they when the outer colonies needed protection? Where were they when pirates raided the supply lines? They abandoned us, all of us. And now we're supposed to die for what? Pride? Enough, Taewon said firmly. Fighting isn't an option. Young-ho is right about that. We need to evacuate. There aren't enough ships, Dr. Ji-woo said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She met their gazes without flinching. We have 42 transport vessels currently docked. Each one can carry maybe 800 people if we pack them in. That's 33,000 people. We have 50,000 colonists on this station. The silence that followed was crushing. Everyone understood what she was saying. Even if they evacuated, 17,000 people would be left behind. Governor Jae-hoon put his head in his hands. There has to be another way. Send a distress signal, someone suggested. To anyone who can help. Young-ho laughed again, that same bitter sound. Who's going to help us? We're in the outer reaches. There's no one out here. Earth doesn't care. The other colonies are too weak. We're alone. Send it anyway, Taewon ordered. Send it on all frequencies. Military, civilian, everything. If there's even a chance someone might hear it, we have to try. Hana nodded and left to send the signal. Taewon didn't tell her what they all knew. No one was coming. The outer reaches were too far from any major power. They were on their own. The next 30 hours passed in controlled chaos. Families packed their belongings. Children cried as they were herded onto transport ships. The station's workers tried to maintain order, but everyone knew the truth. Not everyone would make it off the station. Taewon worked without sleeping. He prioritized children and the elderly for the first transports. Then families. Single adults would be last. It wasn't fair, but there was no fair way to choose who lived and who died. Dr. Ji-woo converted the medical bay into a triage center, preparing for the worst. She knew that when the Vexillans came, there would be casualties. She wanted to save as many as she could. Young-ho worked in the engineering section, trying to coax more power from the aging defense systems. It wouldn't matter, but he needed to do something. Anything. He couldn't just sit and wait to die. With 12 hours left, Hana burst into the command center. Her face was flushed with excitement. Commander, I'm picking up something at the edge of the system. Taewon looked up from the evacuation lists. What kind of something? A hyperspace signature. A big one. Really big. Young-ho came over to look at her screen. He frowned. That can't be right. Nothing's that big. Check your sensors. I did check them, Hana insisted. 3 times. There's something massive coming out of hyperspace right at the system's edge. Taewon felt his heart begin to race. Can you identify it? Not yet. It's still too far away. But Commander, she looked up at him with wide eyes. Whatever it is, it's huge. Much bigger than the Vexillan fleet. Pirates? Governor Jae-hoon suggested hopefully. Maybe someone responded to our distress call? Pirates don't travel in formations that large, Taewon said. His military training was coming back to him now. That's a military fleet. A big one, but whose? Young-ho demanded. There's no one out here. No one with that kind of power. They watched the sensors as the signature grew stronger. Ships were definitely coming out of hyperspace. Lots of them. The computer was struggling to count them all. 50 ships, Hana reported. No, wait. More than that, 70, 80 still coming. Commander, I'm reading over 100 vessels now. Still increasing. Taewon's mouth went dry. A fleet that size could belong to only one power in this part of the galaxy, but it was impossible. They wouldn't come. They hadn't come in 30 years. 200 ships, Hana whispered. 250. 300. Commander, the fleet is stabilizing at 300 vessels. I'm reading multiple Dreadnought-class signatures. Young-ho grabbed the edge of the console to steady himself. That's impossible. Identify them, Taewon ordered. His voice was shaking now. Hana, identify those ships, now. Hana worked frantically at her console. Then she stopped. Her hands froze over the controls. When she looked up at Taewon, there were tears in her eyes. Commander, she said softly, they're broadcasting Earth military identification codes. It's the Third Fleet, Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Force. The command center went absolutely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Young-ho stared at the screen in disbelief. Earth? He whispered. Earth came. Taewon felt something break inside his chest. It might have been hope. After 30 years of silence. After decades of abandonment. After everyone had given up believing anyone cared, Earth had come for them. 300 warships strong, the mightiest fleet humanity had ever built was here. And they had come to save 50,000 people that everyone thought the homeworld had forgotten. Outside the station, the Vexillan fleet detected the newcomers and began to shift into defensive formations. But it was already too late. Earth had arrived and everything was about to change.